Hi everyone! Today we're going to learn all about Wayne Thiebaud, a contemporary artist, and we're going to draw cakes that are inspired by his paintings. So this is a picture of Wayne Thiebaud. Like I said, he's a contemporary artist, which means he's still alive and making work today. He's actually 100 years old. Wayne Thiebaud is well known for his still life paintings of sweets and treats. He made these paintings look realistic by including the form of whatever subject matter he was working with. You can see here that these cakes look three-dimensional, and that's because he painted them that way. He also uses value to include shadows and highlights on whatever he is painting, and this also helps to make it look more realistic. Today we're going to learn how to draw a cylindrical form and design our very own Wayne Thiebaud inspired cake. So let's get started. For today's lesson, you're going to need a piece of paper as well as a pencil and a black marker. You're also going to need either crayons or colored pencils to color your cake in. After you've gathered your supplies, it's time to decide if you want your paper to be landscape style or portrait style. I'm going to go with portrait style because it gives me more room to draw my cake, and I'm also going to be including a cake stand in my picture. But if you want to go landscape style, that is totally fine with me. Now what I'm doing is with my pencil, I'm very lightly drawing a little horizontal line about 2 inches down from the top. This will be the top of our cake. So throughout this video, you will see me drawing very lightly, and that's because we're going to be erasing some of this. So make sure you draw lightly as well. Now I'm going to very lightly draw an ellipse shape. An ellipse just looks like a circle that got squished. So very lightly with your pencil, draw your ellipse shape and make sure that it is symmetrical or about the same on both sides. After you've lightly drawn your ellipse, you're going to draw 2 vertical lines, one on either side of that ellipse, coming down about 3 or 4 inches. It depends how tall you want your cake to be. So next, we're going to draw the bottom of our cylindrical form here, but I have seen a lot of people do this. Don't just draw a straight line at the bottom. That does not help to give the illusion that this is a three-dimensional cake. We want to make this look three-dimensional. We want to finish our cylindrical form. So what we're going to do is follow that same exact curve of the bottom of our ellipse. That same curved line. There we go. That looks more realistic and it completes our cylinder. So make sure you include that curved line on the bottom. All right. Next, it's time to draw a little slice taken out of our cake. So follow along closely. In the center of my ellipse, I'm making a light little dot. This will be my guideline for where our slice will start. Next, I'm going to make a diagonal line to the left because I want my slice to be taken out of my cake just kind of on the left side. If you wanted to do this on the right side of your cake, you could just follow along and do the same thing on the opposite side of your cake. So I drew my diagonal line over to the left and one more down towards the center. So that's the top of my slice of my cake, and if yours doesn't look just like mine, it's okay. Just make sure that you're using diagonal lines and that they're nice and straight. Next, from each of my diagonal lines, I'm drawing 2 vertical lines down to meet the bottom. Just like that. Now it looks like there is a slice taken out of my cake, but we still have a few lines that we need to erase. This line here needs to be erased, as well as this line here. This is why we drew lightly. So go ahead and erase those 2 lines, and then we'll finish drawing the slice that's taken out of our cake. So let's draw the bottom of our slice here. We want to make sure that we match that exact angle, that exact same line as we have up at the top, and we want to have that down at the bottom. I'm drawing really lightly with my pencil, just back and forth until I catch that angle. Now you could use a ruler for this part, but I'm just using my pencil and freehanding it, but that helps to make it look like the slice is going back towards the middle of our cake. Now it's time to focus on the inside of our slice. Cakes usually have layers, especially big, tall cakes like this one. So I'm going to use that same exact angle that we drew on the top and bottom of our slice for some layers on my cake. So I just drew 1, 2, 3, 4 lines going towards the middle. It's up to you how many layers you want your cake to have. Just make sure that you are following that same angle when drawing your layers. So right now our cake is floating in midair, so let's ground it, shall we? I'm going to draw another ellipse, but it's only going to be a partial ellipse around the bottom of my cake using my pencil, and again I'm going to be drawing very lightly. I'm first using my pencil to lightly mark a little line on either side of my cake, making sure that they're somewhat lined up, and this will be the back of my ellipse or the top of my ellipse. This ellipse that we're going to be drawing will be the main part of our cake stand, or the platter part of our cake stand. So you can see here that now I am just lightly starting at my line and drawing an ellipse all the way over to meet the other side. Remember, if you make a mistake, you can always erase. That is why we are drawing so lightly. You can see that my ellipse here, my cake platter stand, got cut off of the side of my page, but that's okay. Now to make this cake platter look three-dimensional, I'm adding 2 little vertical lines down on either side of my ellipse, and then I'm going to follow this exact same curve all the way over to the other side of my ellipse. So that makes it look like that cake stand is three-dimensional. Next up is the stand part of our cake stand, so I'm drawing a little curved line in here and here. And now I'm just going to draw 2 vertical lines down towards the edge of my paper, and this will help to make it look like my cake stand is cropped off of the edge. Okay, the time has come to finally decorate our cakes. Think about what kind of cake you want. What kind of decorations will you have? Are you going to have frosting on your cake? I'm including this little organic line that makes it look like the frosting is just dripping off of the top. Or maybe it's melted chocolate. Or you could do something like this, some scalloped edging. It's really up to you how you want to decorate your cake. You could have a themed cake, like a nature-themed cake or an art-themed cake. Or you could simply decorate it with all of your favorite cake toppings, like cherries and strawberries and sprinkles or whatever you like to eat on a cake. You can see that I finished decorating my cake. I have a cherry on top, I have a leaf border near the bottom, and now I'm just going in with my Sharpie marker and I am outlining all of my lines in black, which just helps to add some contrast and make my piece look more complete. Now I am going in with my eraser and erasing all of my pencil lines that are behind my black marker. Now it's time to color our cake in. I want to talk to you about gradation. We're going to create some gradation on our cake, on the main part of our cake here and here. Remember, gradation is the gradual transition of values, and it helps to make something look more realistic. I'm going to choose a color for my cake. I want to make the main part of my cake blue. So I'm grabbing a light blue crayon and a dark blue crayon. You can make the main part of your cake whatever color you want. Now if you don't have a darker value and a lighter value, let's say you want to make your cake orange and you don't have a dark orange and a light orange crayon, that's okay. You can always create gradation with just one color. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to grab a little piece of scratch paper. You don't have to do this. If you want to practice your gradation first, feel free to grab a little piece of paper and practice along with me. I'm just going to recreate what I just colored on my cake, just a little swatch of color. It's that same blue. And now I'm going to go in with my darker value of blue, my dark blue. And I want to show you how we can create that gradual transition between values. So I'm starting off on the right side, and I want it to be darker on the right side and gradually get lighter as we go towards the left. So what I'm doing with my dark blue is I'm pressing down a little bit harder on the right side, and as I color towards the left, I'm lightening up the pressure of my crayon. That means I'm not pressing down as hard. So you can see that because I pressed down hard and then lightened up my pressure as I colored, it created that nice gradation. And I'll show you how to do this now if you just have that one color of crayon. Pressing hard and lightening up as you go. This does take some practice, so if you are practicing on another piece of paper, just try it a few times until you get it. So now I'm going to apply what I just showed you here on my cake. I'm pressing down harder with my dark blue on the edge of my cake, and I am lightening up my pressure of my crayon as I go towards the left, and this will create that beautiful gradual transition of values. Okay, so because we added that gradation and we have the darker part on the far right side of our cake, it helps it look like a realistic shadow. Like that far right side is a little bit darker, a little bit in shadow. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side of my cake, making the very left side of my cake the darker part of my gradation and having it gradually light up towards the center. And I'm just using that same exact technique that you just saw. Okay, so I've decided that I want to add a little bit of purple in here because I love blue violet. That's one of my favorite colors. So I'm just going in with my purple and I'm just adding some in with my blue here. Now if you want to blend some of your colors, that is okay with me. Just make sure that you are blending like colors. What that means is blend cool colors with cool colors and warm colors with warm colors. So I wouldn't blend blue with orange because it would turn brown, right? So make sure that you're blending like colors if you wanted to do that. You can see that I'm doing a little bit of that here with my yellow orange. Okay, so I've finished coloring my cake in, and now I want to color in the layers of my cake. You get to decide whatever flavor you want your cake to be. I'm going to make my cake flavor chocolate and vanilla. So I'm going to alternate the layers between chocolate and vanilla. And I'm going to create gradation on my layers just like I showed you on the main part of your cake. You want the darker part of your layer to be towards the middle of the cake because that part probably has a little bit of shadow on it. So I'm pressing down a little harder towards the center with that brown color. This is one of my chocolate layers of my cake. And I'm just lightly bringing that color over so that I get a gradual transition between my values of brown. I'm going to finish up my cake layers and then I will meet back up with you in a moment. Now that I'm finished with my layers, I'm going to be coloring in and drawing on my cake stand. Now on this edge part, I am just drawing a zigzag line design, but you could write a message on there, you could draw symbols that you like, or you could just color it in with a pattern or just some color. It's really up to you. Just make sure that you are decorating and or coloring in your cake stand. For the platter of my cake stand, I want to color this part in. I'm going to use two colors and blend them together, and those two colors are going to be orange and red. If you just want to use one color for this part, that is okay. I just love blending with crayons. So because I'm using red, which is a darker value than orange, I'm going to create a little bit of gradation on the inside of where my slice is right here. So first I'm going to press a little harder with my orange in that section to make it appear a little bit darker than the rest of my platter, and then I'm going to go in and hit it with a red, and that will really make that part pop. And then I'm going to just blend in some of that red around the rest of my cake platter. Next, I'm coloring in the stand part of my cake stand, and I'm coloring it in red, and I'm going to add a little bit of purple on one side, on this left side. And I'm going to use gradation again. I just want to add it wherever I can because it really helps everything to look more three-dimensional. So I'm going in with my purple. Now, even though purple is a cool color, it kind of blends nicely with red. It's one of those colors that's a little bit in between warm and cool. So I'm using purple for the shadowy part of the gradation on my cake stand. Okay, so you can see that we used gradation in many different parts of this drawing. This helps to make this look more like a form and look more three-dimensional. Now, the final thing that I'm going to do for this art project is I'm going to add a background. Now, you could color your background in, but I think it would look a lot more interesting if we cut our cake and the stand that goes with it out and then glued it to a colored piece of paper. So if you have a colorful piece of paper at home, I highly recommend cutting your cake out carefully and then pasting it to that colored piece of paper. Now, if you don't have any construction paper or colored paper at home, that's okay. Get creative. Maybe you have some old newspaper lying around. Think about how cool your cake would look in front of an old newspaper background. So if you have a newspaper, maybe that could be the background for your cake. Look around your house and see what you can find. So you can see that I carefully cut this out. Now I am going to apply some glue all over the back of my cake and just line it up and gently press it down. Just like that. Wow, yeah, the background really makes my cake look complete. Wayne Thiebaud would be proud. Okay everyone, I hope you had fun drawing a cylindrical form and making it into a cake, adding gradation to make your cake look more three-dimensional, and decorating it. I can't wait to see what you came up with. Remember to follow all of the directions on Seesaw. See you later!